Hey, I just had someone ask a question about an article that I wrote recently. It was the article that I released just before Anzac Day, and I spoke about a Lieutenant General Pompey, who was an Australian back in World War One, and he was famous for going into bat for his troops, to stand up to the British generals, looking after his troops, right? Not wanting to waste life needlessly. And this particular reader wrote to me and said, "Hey, Cliff, whenever I have gone into bat for my people, or gone into fight for my people, I've always got reprimanded by management. I've always got a slap on the wrist in that sense. And so, how do I push back? How do I stand up for my people without getting an adverse reaction from management?" And it is a great question. I thought I'd shoot a quick video because I'm sure there is more than just this one person asking that question. So, how do we, when we go into bat for our people, go into fight for our people, do it in a way that is respectful, right? And without getting a negative reaction from management? Well, the first thing we've got to think about is just our mindset, right? If we are thinking, I have to go in and fight for my people, even that thought process and that language may not be helpful. If you think about fighting, then there's a whole lot of connotations there around aggression. If you're going in to fight for your people, you are going, there's a tendency to be a little bit more aggressive, okay? And if you are aggressive, you will encounter pushback and resistance, a thing called psychological resistance. I sometimes talk about the psychological physics, right? In Newtonian physics, there is the law that with every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, right? And the same thing happens psychologically. If you're going to push someone, push back against something, well, they will push back against you. This thing called psychological reactance. They're going to react against what you're trying to do. And if you are being aggressive in that, then they will be defensive back. And when we put that into the context of the workplace and management, well, management have the organizational authority sitting behind them. They're always going to push harder than you will, and you will come off second best. So how do we go in to bat for our people or stand up for our people without triggering that? And simply thinking about it in that way, we're standing up for our people. We are going into bat for and try and do the right thing by our people. Just that thought process, you're less likely to be aggressive and therefore encounter psychological reactance. All right, so how do we initiate a conversation like that? Well, my biggest tip to you is ask questions and ask a lot of questions. Yes, I'm a coaching guy, and I am always promoting the use of strategic questioning in there, but it is a really good strategy to avoid the psychological reactance, to avoid the defensive response from management. So I'm a big fan of framing things as, hey, we've got this particular decision that's been made, or thing that's being rolled out, change that's happening. I need to sell this to my people, and I need to implement it. I want to make sure that I have all the information. I want to make sure that I can answer their questions and make sure that this lands so that I can lead them through this. Can you help me answer a few questions that I might have so that I'm representing you well? Okay, so you're framing this as a conversation around not necessarily disagreeing with the decision that's been made, not pushing back against the change that's happening or the initiative that's being promoted. You are framing it around communication and implementation. You're asking the question, how do I communicate this, or how do I implement this, and how do I represent you, the leader, so your management, well in this scenario? Okay, so what you're doing is you're positioning yourself on their side. You're not positioning yourself against them. You are on their side. You're just trying to get some help in terms of making it happen, all right? Now, if you're having conversations like this, you're demonstrating initiative, you're being proactive, right? And you're positioning yourself on their side. And that's kind of what leaders want. If you are being proactive and taking initiative and you're on people's side, well, then they will want to help you. All right, so that's a great way to initiate the conversation without getting pushback right from the start. And then your next job is to find out a whole lot of information, because there may be more information that you don't know. So can you explain this decision to me? What's the purpose? What's the outcome? What's the result that we are trying to achieve here? Is there anything that I don't know? Because there's a few things that I don't seem to make sense. So what might I not know that's gone into making this decision? And you're gaining a whole lot of information that you might be able to use, or it might just help you understand the situation a whole lot better. Once you've kind of understood where things are at a little bit more, now you kind of move into, well, explore the implications of the decision or initiative or change, and whatever it is you're dealing with, right? Start asking more questions, and you can frame it in, hey, my people are going to have these questions, so I need to know how to answer them, right? Or if I don't know these questions, then I won't be able to communicate it effectively to my people. So it's, again, you're asking questions in the context of being able to implement the decision or the initiative. And then you start getting them to think about, well, what are the second, third, fourth order consequences of the decision, right? How does that, and so if we're doing this, well, does that mean, what are we not doing in order to be able to do that, right? Or, you know, think about from a potentially if it's a culture thing, right? So talk to me about how this aligns with the values and the culture, right? Or how does this align with the strategic initiatives that we've got, the strategy currently? And what about the key results here? You know, if we're doing this and we're not able to do that, well, what impact is that going to have on the key results? So you're asking a whole lot of questions in this way. And then you might sort of say, well, talk about the implementation, right? So how do I lead through this? How do I prioritize this? So when I'm leading my team through this, what am I not doing here? How am I going to help you have a green dashboard when you go to the management meeting, if this is the case here? And so you're asking all these questions, and the aim here is to get them to reconsider the decision, or reconsider the initiative, right? To adopt a different perspective and see things from your team's point of view. If you can do that and get them to reconsider it in a respectful way, so you want to make sure that they feel respected and not resentful against you, right? You want to make sure that they feel like you are trying to be helpful, not a hindrance to them. And if you can do that, then, you know, that's the best way to push back, right? Now, the reality is that if you have an incompetent leader or an incompetent management team, immature, and so they're not aware of the, you know, second, third, fourth order consequences, they're not necessarily thinking strategically, or maybe an insecure leader, and they're trying to protect themselves in whatever the decision is, then the reality is that you will likely get some sort of conflict, and reprimands will come. You know, General Pompey got passed over promotion, and he's got several dressings down from generals higher up because he stood up for his troops. And you know, you will have conflict, you will get reprimanded if you've got incompetent, immature or insecure leaders, and you will have a choice to make. And that choice is, well, what will you do? Will you do the right thing? You know, I think about the quote from Mark Twain. He says, "A man's first duty is to his conscience and is to his honour. his party and his country come second and never first. And I echo that sentiment, right? If you need to stand up for your people, you need to do the right thing. And you need to have a clear conscience. What you want to do is be able to sleep well at night. And so I'll leave you with these words from Thomas à Kempis. He says, thou shalt rest sweetly if thy heart condemn thee not. What you don't want to go through your career is, just doing the easy thing, which makes you not have a clear conscience, right? And wishing you'd done something different, even if it does result in a reprimand. So a little bit of a longer video here now, but hopefully that answers your question to the individual who was listening and reading, but also to some of you others as well. Until next time, lead well.